You want to learn about the Reconstruction? I could do this all day. The Reconstruction was the rebuilding of a shattered nation, trying to repair the North and South's relationship after the Civil War. Major political leaders like Abraham Lincoln, Ulysses S. Grant, Rutherford B. Hayes, and John Mercer Langston attempted to help the South reconcile with the Union and began giving equal rights to former slaves. As the election of 1876 approached, political tensions between Northern and Southern citizens began to again reach a boiling point over major controversies regarding equal rights for all citizens, electoral candidates, and racial discriminations.
Ulysses S. Grant played a major role in the Reconstruction. This Republican general of the Union Army led the Union to a major victory against the Confederacy. Because of this victory, Republicans all over the North and South saw him as a war hero, talk about Captain America, which later led to his becoming President of the United States. As president, he contributed to the Reconstruction by supporting the 15th Amendment, which did not allow for the government or states to deny someone the right to vote based on race, color, or previous condition of servitude. He also nominated John Mercer Langston, an abolitionist and son of a former slave and slave owner, into the District of Columbia Board of Health. Like Grant, Langston worked to mend the negative relationship between the North and South after the Civil War.
Although Grant helped in passing the 15th Amendment and supported a Black American by nominating him into the Board of Health, showing his support for all people no matter their race, his presidency still had major downfalls, slowing the process of the Reconstruction period. To start, corruption had taken its place in his administration, and major financial issues arose, specifically the Panic of 1873. This was a depression that caused banks to go bankrupt and the unemployment rates of the country to majorly increase. The economy was trashed, you guys. These events took priority over the racial issues, slowing down the road to equality for freed slaves. Thankfully, Grant chose his political allies wisely. As mentioned before, son of a former slave owner and slave, John Mercer Langston accomplished much during the Reconstruction period. A few of those accomplishments being, but not limited to, his becoming an attorney, his nomination to the D.C. Board of Health, his election into the House of Representatives, his being the first Black American ever to be elected into a political office, and he was the Dean of Howard University and later Vice President and Acting President of the same university. Put it there, man. These were not only massive accomplishments for anyone, but for a Black abolitionist who had faced many hardships because of the way he looked.
He defied many odds, bringing hope to other Black Americans that they would be able to hold positions equal to those held by whites. Langston was hopeful and was able to spread that hope in a 16-page letter he wrote. He refers to the principles and the foundation of the country. Justice, law, and liberty excites in our minds the deepest feelings of hope. He can see the importance of the Reconstruction and works to educate and inspire people to keep moving up. Langston, who worked closely with Grant, also worked with future President of the United States, Rutherford B. Hayes.
The election of 1876. Blacks were given the right to vote, but there were many who would still do anything to prevent that from happening. As Black men attempted to place their votes in the ballots, some white supremacist organizations and racist citizens used intimidation, fraud, and violence to prevent them from taking part in the new rights they had recently been given.
Hayes was a 3-time Republican governor of Ohio and a Civil War veteran. Hayes was respected for his integrity, his support in African American suffrage, and, like former President Lincoln, he believed in forgiving the South, allowing any former Confederates to join the Union, so long as they denounce their old ways and commit to fighting for equal rights for all. He wanted to mend the relationships that have been divided and work to unite the North and South. Hayes' presidency marks the end of the Reconstruction era, and he actually ran against former reformer Tilden. Tilden used to be the governor for New York before he ran for president in 1876. The Democratic Party decided he was the most eligible candidate to run for president at the end of the Reconstruction. A lot of the reason being that he was a reformer, a fellow Democrat who wanted to make the country better. Tilden differed from Hayes in that he did not want to mend the racial issues between the North and South.
Both Hayes and Tilden tied in the election until the Compromise of 1877. The Compromise of 1877 concluded that the Congress would give Hayes their votes if he would end the Reconstruction era. Goodbye, Reconstruction. This is exactly what happened, officially making Rutherford B. Hayes the new President of the United States of America. After 12 years of political differences, racial contention, and disagreements, The Reconstruction era had come to a close. For most Republicans, this news was dreadful, but as history shows, the United States used the lessons learned during the Reconstruction era to rise to greater heights, and slowly rise from the ashes of a broken union into a new world superpower. Some would argue that the Reconstruction era never ended and still continues. Despite differing views, it can be agreed that even with our flaws, these Americans still contribute to this country's growth, each generation adding to the rich history of our ever-growing nation.